right, so we are right before rehearsal number 9 and on page 5 in my part. This is getting up to this big dramatic moment, and we have some chromatic octaves. They're broken octaves, but we're going to be not lifting our fingers, just shooting the hand up, chunking it up, 1 4 1 4 1 4. And then we're going to keep that octave shape basically and do these arpeggios across the strings, and finally go to the highest reaches of the violin pretty much. So it's a tall order, but some different practice ideas here. I think first and foremost, we need to make sure that we can hear the chromatics appropriately. And just like on the first page where we had those stacked minor thirds that formed those octaves at the end of the first section there, basically like a diminished 7th arpeggio. We anytime we have those even sorts of intervals that are strung together like that, in this case it's all half steps, I think it's just a little harder to hear and figure out like what exactly the distances are. I think as violinists, especially since we don't have tempered tuning system like the piano, like the keyboard, we're used to maybe keeping a lot of our half steps a little tighter, stuff like that, and just modifying our intonation to find that expression as needed, and that's fine. But I think for something like this, you want to pretty much just keep those even half steps, and I would just start with even in first position, just playing these like an A, B, B natural, C, C sharp, D, and then your E at the top is going to be a whole step, of course, but that would be a starting point, because if it's hard to hear that da 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 da, right, then it's going to be hard to play it for sure. So from there, you could play what we were doing previously, like have the frame set, but just play maybe one of the lines. And so on, or something like that. I think maybe also useful would actually be to practice, since these are broken, to practice these as real double stops. And that way kind of finding the middle of the hand and making sure, I might even do it like a chain bowing again. Definitely by the time I get to the D's, it feels like things are getting closer. And the E's. So those are some ideas. You could also practice it like inverted. So I could start with the bottom note, and this starts with like an up bow, but I could do it an up bow here. This is interesting. Very weird. But that, what I like about that is instead of feeling like the 4 is reaching, it's kind of like the 1 is pushing. And maybe if we practice that way enough, it'll kind of balance the hand out a bit. And we can, again, just feel that frame chunking up. So anyhow, eventually you'll get to the E's, hopefully. And from there, we want to go back to 3rd position. So 4th position, back to 3rd position, and this is a real danger zone. So we're going to get the D, and the 3rd note is an open D, which we're not going to be able to tune up in the moment. So we have to make sure that maybe we're hearing like some sympathetic resonances on some of these notes, and hopefully we're going to get it. And then we're going to drop down a B once we get there, so we can just let go of that 4 for a second. And while I'm playing these Ds, I'm going to let go of my 2 and then take my 1 up to 6th position on a G. And hopefully my whole arm has come with me, because I'm going to need to get a high G here. So it's not good just to do this. It's not going to be good enough. You really have to come around. So you can get that high G. That would be a 4. And from there, we have our... And we see this D coming on the next note, and we think, oh no, we have to go back down somewhere. No, no, no. So you're playing a G with the first finger over on the A string, and the D, thank goodness, is right across from it. It's just that our finger is curved. So we have to find a way for our individual finger to have more of a flat edge there to get the D. There we go. I kind of have to like swivel a little bit. D's on either side, so we're listening to that. And then you're going to come up, you're going to let go of the D and just come back to the A string while you're playing this lower D. So that was 6th position. Now this is 8th. You're coming up to that B, and then you're going to reach a little bit. And I like this is the high B. I like this rather than a 4 because we notice how if I did a 4, I would have to bring my elbow so much further under, and then my 1 is starting to tilt like off of the string over to the left side. So that doesn't feel like a really good contact point. It's just not necessary to be that high when I can easily reach my 3rd finger and get there. So I like that at the top. And then this B is going to go right across to an F. The 1 goes across. And then a G, you might have to almost scoot your 1 out of the way to get your 2 close enough. The G, just a really small half step, and then shift up just a tiny bit to an A. And then you're going to do a little half step, and then a little whole step. And here I've been able to get to all of those notes without moving my thumb. So the thumb has just stayed put since my 8th position. And if you had the smaller hand, you might be a little bit further around. I can be just kind of still in that crook of the neck actually, where I was in, you know, kind of, it's maybe a millimeter here or there, but pretty much since 5th position, I've just been kind of hanging out there. And I'm definitely getting towards the right side now, but yeah, I can still reach. And then the good news is that after that, you're just going to come down to 1st position. So wherever that thumb ends up, you're just going to take yourself all the way back down. So at the top there, you know, just really listening in, and any vibrato we do is going to sound really big, basically. So let's see my bow stroke, right? All of that is just going to sound really big. Right? So it doesn't really take that much movement, which is cool because it's a big moment and it sounds, you know, really amazing without all of that much effort. But up until that point, there's a lot going on for sure. So just as far as the arpeggiated kind of octaves, I would definitely practice those too, maybe as the framed but separate voicing shifts and stuff, but particularly the shifts. So like going from 3rd position to like your G's, your 6th position, your 8th position, your B's. In this case, it was a 3 on top, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, any of this, you're getting to know your fingerboard really well and where all of the spacing is. But those bigger steps, you know, as you move up and around, that I find a little bit more tricky, and making sure that, you know where your elbow's going, you know where your thumb's going, everything's moving along. All right, enjoy.